Good evening. Our group will be doing the topic, the interrelation of governance, trust, and ethics in temporary organizations. Our group members are Andre Grant, Justin Seal, Kenisha Leverett, Lisely Collins, Nicole White, Timika Joseph Burke, and Vikas Grant. I am Andre Grant, and I will be one of three speakers who will be taking us through this topic. On the agenda for today, we'll be introducing the main concepts of each theory. We'll be speaking about the interrelationship of governance, ethics, and trust. There will be an introduction to the stewardship theory, which will be done by myself, and we'll then speak to the stewardship theory in practice. I will then turn over to Vikas Grant, who will do the introduction to the transactional cost theory, and he will also present on the transactional theory in practice. After which, Justin Seal will do the introduction to agency theory, and he will speak to the agency theory in practice. Let's move on. Corporate governance is the policies and procedures used in governing an organization. It encompasses decision-making and the existing governance structures within the organization. At the helm of any organization is its executives, who are therefore tasked with making project decisions while being accountable to its stakeholders and putting shareholder interest at the fore. Linking governance, ethics, and trust. Corporate governance, which includes strategic goals and objectives, and at this level sits the board of directors or the CEO. As it pertains to temporary organizations, these include things such as projects, programs, portfolios. But since these generally belong to a company, then this has to be managed by corporate governance. Corporate governance will then have to use project governance, which involves project management office, a project steering committee, communication, and reporting. These all have to be aligned with corporate governance strategies so that the temporary organizations are therefore aligned with corporate governance. This then feeds or thrives on ethical behavior, this as it pertains to decision making and truthfulness. But of course, this cannot happen without trust, communication, teamwork. The stewardship theory. The main principle of this theory is that the objectives of owners and shareholders is greater than the personal interests of its stewards. It requires that the steward be trustworthy and put aside personal gains for the organization's sake. Satisfaction within the organization is achieved by meeting organizational goals through self-growth, self-achievement, and duty. Stewards are intrinsically motivated and are able to perform with little monitoring. They are responsible and accountable without any external forces. There's also a heavy reliance on informal governance mechanisms such as trust in employees to perform and meet the objectives of the organization. This trust also enables ethical decision making by project managers and plays an integral role in project management and the fulfillment of expectations. Given the reliance on trust in this governance structure, there is a need for a system of principles of right and wrong to assist with ensuring acceptable conduct. The presence of ethics aids in governing projects by shaping the development of project teams that perform in a desirable and socially appropriate manner to achieve objectives. Tying it all together, project management that is guided by an effective governance system that is aligned with the objectives of the organization and led by ethics and trust often result in a project that is successfully completed within time, budget, and scope. I will now turn over to Vikas Grant, who will take you through the transactional cost theory.
Thank you. My name is Vikas Grant, and I will be covering the transactional cost theory. The transactional cost theory is based on the concept of make or buy. In essence, what is necessary to preserve the financial health of the organization. The purpose of this theory is to guide decision making by evaluating the transactional cost of that decision. This theory dates back to 1937. The theory emphasizes the financial cost of doing business as opposed to other theories such as the agency theory or the stewardship theory. The concept of this theory allows the company to save money by deciding whether a product or service should be produced or outsourced for production. It is on this basis that corporations outsource several aspects of the service they need. Examples include companies that outsource their back office work to BPOs or set up factories in low income countries such as China, India, or Malaysia. This theory breaks down transactions into two categories, notably external transactions and internal transactions. External transactions are transactions that will occur when dealing with another external party or corporation. Internal transactions, however, are transactions that will occur within a company, transacting between departments or business units. It should be noted that good governance is executed through governance structures, which includes the formal procedures, policies, rules, responsibilities, and authorities. Trust is one of the mechanisms of good governance and is viewed as one that helps to create economic value by lowering transactional costs. As this is the main aim of the transactional cost theory, it is fully incorporated into the governance strategies by those organizations that utilize this theory. That is it for the transactional cost theory. I now move over to my colleague.
Thank you. My name is Justin Seal, and I will be commenting and discussing briefly the agency theory. The agency theory is one school of thought which describes the empowerment of an individual, entity, group, or other to act on behalf of another individual, entity, group, or other in realizing the former's interests. In this circumstance, the former becomes the agent of the latter, and the latter owns the project, and therefore becomes the principal. Examples of agency theory include the relationship between voters and elected officials, boards of directors and CEOs, realtors and their clients, and so on. Ross is responsible for the origin of the economic theory of agency, and Mitnick for the institutional theory of agency, though the basic concepts underlying these approaches are similar. Ross introduced the study of agency in terms of problems of compensation contracting. Agency was seen, in essence, as an incentives problem. Mitnick introduced the now common insight that institutions formed around agency and evolved to deal with agency in response to the essential imperfection of agency relationships. Behavior never occurs as it is preferred by the principal because it does not pay to make it perfect. But society creates institutions that attend to these imperfections, managing them or buffering them, adapting to them, or becoming chronically distorted by them. Thus, to fully understand agency, we need both streams to see the incentives as well as the institutional structures. Each party's self-interest creates moral hazard, where the agent may pursue his self-interest ahead of that of the principal whom it is tasked to represent. Mo acknowledges the agent as the more knowledgeable party regarding project matters. Therefore, the principal cannot be completely aware of the motivation of decisions made. Monitoring of the agent is employed as an act of controlling agent behavior, but comes with a cost. Avoiding superfluous costs is essential to any organization's bottom line. In essence, it would be productive to create a vertical theory of control as well as a horizontal one of exchange. We, we are then led to focus on the mechanisms and costs of specifying what the agent is to do, as well as the cost of observing and policing him or her. The approach becomes vertically relational as institutions are created to instruct and manage agents rather, and to deal with inevitable imperfections of control. Because of the nature of the relationship structure between principal and agent, hierarchical organizations are a natural evolution from the agency perspective. In terms of project governance, the descriptive view of the agency theory lends itself to consideration of all aspects of the project, with the view of governing these aspects for optimum desired outcome. In this manner, the agency principle theory encourages a governance of the project in an approach akin to the famous philosopher Michel Foucault's governmentality idea. The descriptive view of the agency theory best incorporates accountability and inculcates an awareness of project ethics for project managers. Much like the shareholder theory, ethics issues can be encountered during every project task, milestone, or node. In the modern world, a perceived breach of ethics could stymie a project. For the sake of ultimate success of the project and for delivery, ethical concerns at all levels of the project remain a key and must be resolved during project planning and implementation.
Thank you very much, Vikas and Justin. Now, just to conclude, governance at any level is critical to the success of a project. Unequal expectations will cause ethical dilemmas, thereby impacting trust. Project resources, internal and external, require a good governance framework, transparency, and communication with stakeholders, and this promotes project success. The selected governance framework must normalize constructive and moral behavior, and a good governance system will provide the limitations and guidance required to promote trust among project actors and the system which will foster project success. We, the members of this group, thank you for your undivided attention, and we hope that you'll have a pleasant good day.